the panel, the discussion, an objective and impartial view of the issues of interest to you. Nation Beat is on now.
Good day, St. Lucia. Bonjour, Cecilia, and welcome to another episode of Nation Beat. Now, Nation Beat is a special program created during Music Month with the emphasis on our annual St. Cecilia's Day Feast of Musicians celebration. I am your presenter, Eko. Welcome. Today, the theme is the positive impact of the creative industry on writers, creatives, and musicians as well. So, let me introduce to you my panel today. We have Mr. Michel Hippolyte, Director for Business Development of CDF, Ms. Dawn French, writer and former DPS, Mr. Lennon Blaze Prosper, who is an entertainer, musician, Calypsonian, and so on and so forth, and Mr. Martin James, who is the CEO of Eko. So we have a nice variety as far as, the topic is concerned. So, lady and gentlemen, anyone could start when you're ready, when you feel like. Tell us your thoughts as the theme stands. The positive impact of the creative industry on writers, creatives, musicians as well. What say you, yay or nay?
Well, I could start with both a yay and a nay. But I would start with the yay. First off, I'm happy to be here, and as it relates to the creative sector and the positive impact it has on the creatives, on the economy, we are not short of a heritage that is very rich in culture, and as such, we have St. Lucia in particular has a wide cross section of creatives making a living out of the creative sector. And more so, the positive impact. We have persons who listen, who go to dance every weekend to free up themselves to use the local palace. So there is a spiritual impact in terms of you enjoying yourself, and it big up your spirituality. But there's also the fact that our Calypso and some of our traditional forms of music actually impacts the nation, because it is the form of the voice, and then other persons will speak to it. So you have so many positives coming out of it. Definitely, there's a lot more that needs to come out, and that is where the nay would come in terms of we need, especially from the Eko standpoint, we need to respect the Copyright Act, the laws that governs the creative sector, and ensure that there's fair compensation for fair use. So that would be by way of my intro.
Wonderful. Yeah. All right. So, Mr. Blaze, as being a musician, a Calypsonian.
Calypso is special to me. Music is special to me. And whilst I believe Calypso has a forceful impact, or a very big impact on our nation, I believe Calypso is not playing its part due to the fact that the radio stations don't play it. They only play Calypso for 2 weeks, basically, or 3 weeks before Carnival, and that's it. And I am sure they have 1,000 folders of Calypso sitting there, and nobody plays them. So if we're not consuming our own, how people else going to consume our thing? We consume everybody's thing, but not ours. You understand? So for me, the positive in there is, yes, we have music, we have creatives, we have writers, we have what we call a tradition of festivities, but we don't have a tradition of our own, consuming our own thing. We have a tradition of consuming other people's thing, but not ours. And I think that would be the biggest need for me.
Okay, Ms. French.
Well, I'll say simply, the creatives saved the sanity of the world during COVID. Right? Everybody was on lockdown. There was no festivity to go to.
Exactly.
And what did we consume? music, film, books, poetry. That is what saved the sanity, you know. So, and even in just our own microcosm of St. Lucia, that is what happened. The creatives saved the sanity, the scientists saved the health, but we saved the mental health. It is also a challenge for writers. Now, if you think of writing and making a living from writing, from producing books, traditional books, putting books out, poetry, plays, novels, there is a challenge because St. Lucians are allergic to books.
Miss French, even with 2 Nobel laureates?
Especially the embarrassment of, because I'm glad you said both, because I point out to people that Sir Arthur Lewis was a published author. He wrote nonfiction because he was writing about economics, but he was a writer as well, and people tend to forget that. We always focus on Sir Derek as the writer, and that's justified, but Sir Arthur was a writer in his own right.
Agreed.
But to expand it, so if you take in writing as the fact that you have to write scripts for public service announcements, you do the writing if you're in the news sector. So there are opportunities to make a living that way. But if you're going to go the traditional way and try and follow in the footsteps of Sir Derek, unfortunately, you're going to have to do like Sir Derek and leave St. Lucia. And I know fellow creatives who have told me flat that they have left or are planning to leave because they will not be able to pursue the God-given talent in the creative industry in St. Lucia. They will go overseas and they will make their way, and when they get to a certain stage, they will come back home. So that's the positive and the negative of it.
Okay, all right, Mr. Hippolyte.
All right.
Yay or nay?
Well, I'd probably lean more to the yay, on the basis that I definitely agree during the COVID period. This is where we probably saw the biggest impact of the creative industry and our creatives in actuality, because when the world stopped, our creatives were the ones who kept the country going, kept the country together, kept persons sane, even within the silence of itself. But one of the things that being an artist, being in the creative industry, what it teaches us, it allows us to express ourselves. And a culture in itself is really how we express ourselves and who we are as a people. And it also leads to inspiration of the new generation as well. So them seeing how we interact with each other, how we express ourselves on that type of level, and that gets you to translate that into who you become growing up, even in your work. A lot of businesses today are looking for persons who are innovative, persons who can think outside the box, persons who can be creative in the way that they do things. It's not just in the creative sector. You learn it from there, but you get to express it in every other aspect of the business. So these are the other aspects of it. And we also have to think of the revenue generation capabilities of being in the creative sectors and how it's been impacting our country. Majority of our country is really fueled by the tourism sector. The tourism sector is fueled by what? The tourists coming into St. Lucia, they're no longer coming for just the sand and the beaches. They're coming to immerse themselves into the culture, into the experience. And this is where it begins. They want to be in the community, experiencing what we experience, to see how we live, how we have fun with each other. Again, holistically is the culture. When you really think about that, that's a beautiful thing. When you think of how expensive that is, see how much they pay just to want to come and be like us and enjoy the things that we enjoy. These are big positives when you look at it. To be able to inspire a new generation, that's a big positive. To transfer the knowledge that we have. Even me, I mean, I'm sitting here and I'm sitting among some of the legends, but I grew up watching you guys perform, seeing you all on television. And again, there were things that you learned from that. There were things that inspired you to want to probably become like them or to do what they do. And again, it leads into the expressions and how we express ourselves. So for me, that's a biggie.
Okay.
Yeah, and I can't even forget about the knee, you know, it's just how we deliver. And again, it feeds into the mandate of the CDF to nurture and promote cultural identity. And this is how we do it through our creative process. Yeah? Okay,
so can you say that, like Ms. French stated, during COVID, that was the time where we had time. And there was so many things to look forward to, like for example saving our mental health, saving our sanity, as far as watching videos, music, writing, etc. So that was that point in time. Can you say from that point to now there has been some level of increase as far as our local product is concerned when it comes to creativity?
I'd definitely say so, in a sense, given that from this, persons learn to innovate, and you no longer wait for you to say, go out and do a recording or to have an event. You see persons putting out material more often than not. Where I could probably agree, again too, is in terms of the writing. I mean, to be fair, we don't do that much reading, and that's the honest truth. You know, it would be nice to see we go back into that that realm where we used to do this. I remember growing up, and you look forward to going in town and pay your $2 for your newspaper. Even that, you don't see kids doing that anymore. I'd wait for when my mom brings the newspaper home so you can actually read through this, get a few clippings. I know when you go to school Monday morning, they'll ask you what was in the newspaper. I'm not sure if they still do these things anymore. But
Can tell from the reaction, probably not.
I'm not sure. But again, these were the ways that we express ourselves. But I can certainly see from our standpoint, you can see a little bit more. But the knee part, what we'd love to see is a lot more of it, a lot more persons putting out products, putting out their productions, putting out what they do.
Oh, an avenue. So Mr. James, we come to you with that continuation. An avenue for artists to use it as a form of living. Because this is what we have been trying to do for years in St. Lucia. So Mr. James, this is where you come in. Because earlier you spoke about Copyright Act, the laws and legislation, and compensation. Now this is something very, very important at this point, I believe, because during our downtime, we created thousands, millions of creatives in all aspects. So right about now, Mr. James, tell us, why is it so important that we creatives, writers, musicians, etc., be more responsible to ourselves, register ourselves, think of it as something, not necessarily a hobby, or even though it's a hobby, why not register? Why not you take it seriously to some aspect? Because we have a lot of our artists that you have known over the years who are literally making it big overseas nowadays. Look, we have our own Johan de Tilville, who is a nominee for a Grammy. So we have Keo, we have Sidale, we have so many others in the music industry who have decided to take on the initiative overseas. And come back and tell us what happened. So, Mr. James.
Right. Well, thank you for that. I am here representing Eko. I'm a creative myself, but I'm here in the capacity as the CEO of Eko. And as we know, Eko is the Eastern Caribbean Collective Organization for Music Rights. And we are governed by, that is why I said the Copyright Act. We have our bylaws and stuff, but we are governed more so. I want to speak to the Copyright Act and the legislation that sets the parameters within which we operate. And for the creatives to earn a living. I really want us to look at the orange economy. Look at the creative sector and the value it brings to the GDP, the value. So every single individual being wants to feel valued as a human being. And more so, if you are creative, you want your work to be valued. Now the value, you have to measure value based on how you feel about it, what you bring out, how people perceive it, how people take it, and what returns it could bring to you. So we protect the rights of our members. Now you said about if you are a poet or whatever, different sectors. We represent the authors of music, those who write the lyrics, composers. We represent the publishers of music as well, and producers. So your song, you just putting it out just because you like it, fine. but the government or the authorities and for the rest of the world, there are parameters within which you operate and you could make a living out of it. It is very challenging. It is very challenging. I use the word challenging because the Copyright Act is clear as to how you could use, and if you are going to use copyrighted music in public, you must get the expressed permission of that creator of music. You must get that. It is impossible, it's an impossible task to get, every time you're going to play a song in public, it's an impossible task to get that respective person's creator's permission. So that is why you have an organization like Eko, and we operate through reciprocal agreements around the world. So we represent our local members and the rest of the world. Every song that is copyrighted, that's played, we represent it. So you must get that permission. So the creatives, and like I said earlier, St. Lucia is not devoid of creativity and all that. But guess what? We look at the rest of the world and we see the creative sector bringing in millions and billions of dollars.
And that is
to the
what
economy.
inspires us
A
as
lot of
individuals,
persons.
and we want to do something like that.
And then now when you put your music out and you get the demotivating factor that nobody's paid, nobody don't want to pay for you, nobody want to respect it, it is going to really demotivate
Or
you.
you're not even getting a little concerts to come and sing one song
Right.
at.
So we need to change that narrative. How do we change that narrative? Persons need to be held accountable. And I say persons, first off, you have the authority, the laws. Our Copyright Act, there's some revision going on and certain things happening. We have to ensure that the language within the Copyright Act is modernized and working for the creatives. We have to also ensure that the not just the creatives themselves, but and the legislation governing them. We have to also ensure that we put out good content. We put out good content. I think just one thing I just want to just add. I was a young little boy, fresh, and I heard of a broadcast bill being in its draft stage, a broadcast policy. I'm a fully grown individual, you know, and it's still in its draft stage.
Wow.
That is something that needs to be, we need to put that in place. Those things govern the parameters. These things put things in place. Your broadcast bill, listen to me. We have some songs that are being played, that are being aired, and our creatives, and I'm going out to you, for you to reach out, stop singing some of those songs. Do your creative, not stop singing, my apologies. Those songs are supposed to be played in the clubs and what have you, not on our airwaves. Because we have a responsibility to the next generation. We have a responsibility, and that is where the governance come in, the broadcast bill, setting parameters and setting those kind of things. Just like if you're writing a book, you must declare what type of book you're writing. You understand? You have to declare it. So we have so many things to talk about. I know, but in terms there's positive, and we have challenges, and we must change those narratives. And the creative sector, it represents the 2% of the world market across the Caribbean, and I've been talking about from the DR all the way down to Guyana. 2% of the world market. That's billions of dollars.
Okay.
And guess what? What is our piece of this $1 billion?
Well, you'll tell us when we come back. So this is Nation Beat on NTN. We will be right back. Stay with us.
Hello, OECS.
Yo, OECS, this is your ocean. If I am to protect your future, we have to work together. It's the time to work together. If I am to help protect your future. Once I used to be so pure and clean, and those hills were so fresh and green. But now you see me as your dumping ground. The current situations has me choking on your pollution. Think hard about it, you will agree that really there is no you without me. Make the zero waste pledge, be responsible. Reduce your waste, recycle where possible. It's down to you, so Eco OECS, Green Actions, Blue Oceans. For Blue Oceans and our betterment.
Welcome back to Nation Beat on NTN. I'm your presenter, Eko Fergus, and of course, Nation Beat is a special program created during Music Month with the emphasis on our annual St. Cecilia's Day Feast of Musicians celebration. So back to our panel. Mr. James was discussing, he went down into the nitty-gritty as far as, the bylaws of music, where music is concerned. Now, you were telling us about a percentage, and then we move on to Blaze?
Yeah, well, I was just saying that the creative sector, the out of the world market, represent, give and take about 2.2% or 2.5% of the world, market. And that is from the DR all the way down to Guyana, and there's a lot of money to be made. And our creatives see, and we see what's happening on the social media and all the artists and everything. It don't just happen. It's managed. People buy the music, people pay for it, and people, they get compensated adequately. So we need to change that narrative in the way we're doing this.
But can you say our numbers affect us? Because we're not like Trinidad with 1 million people, 1 million so and
1.3
with so many million people.
Yeah, but it's
that
the
we can
digital,
literally.
it's the digital age.
It's a digital age.
It's the global stage.
That's right. It's a global village.
I am working on a project right now where I am the writer for a comic strip. We're supposed to do 13 editions of this comic book. And we're working with animators in St. Lucia and in Africa.
Wonderful.
It's a global stage.
Because it's a global stage and it's a virtual world, our size don't matter.
So
in fact,
we should not have an excuse.
We shouldn't have an excuse for that.
But I just want to add though, one of the most popular platforms that our people put their music out is YouTube. And I could tell you, YouTube, and I'm going to say it, and it is very disheartening. YouTube has indicated in clear terms that they want nothing to do with the Caribbean, with the exception of Jamaica. And we know why. Jamaica's repertoire is vast, Jamaica. So they see it. So we as a Caribbean, we as an OECS, we as a people need to recognize how, fragmented we are and come together. Why is it a global stage? They still don't value us as how we ought to be valued. So we as creatives need to understand that variable. Okay. And that is why I keep stressing on the fact that the laws are there. Let us work within the parameters of the laws to ensure that our creatives get it.
So I want to piggyback to it.
I said it first.
Go ahead.
Let her go ahead, so please, you'll have all your time.
No, I just want to point out that, you see, we are a very reactive society at any level you want to throw your dart at. And you saw it happening with Julian Alfred. Julian Alfred is a mega star on the world stage, and the pirating burst one time. Okay, there was a whole article. You had the Minister of Sports expressing his concern because there were T-shirts out there. And then now the Jamaicans have 2 dolls about her. And I kept asking, where is her team? Where is the intellectual property protection? And when the Minister of Sports came out to make his comment, I'm sorry, but I was not impressed. Because I know, I have friends in the creative industry. They're in the fashion, we're talking fashion, when you're talking the T-shirts, that falls under the fashion umbrella. And their stuff gets stolen all the time. And I have spoken to ministers of government on more than one occasion about this, about strengthening the copyright legislation. Because if we make something hence and that the Chinese like and they start to mass produce it, where is our protection? And so this is one of the challenges. Is the copyright, he's mentioning the Copyright Act. The Copyright Act was done in 1995.
Amen.
Right?
But there's a revision. I think there was a revised version.
And you just finished mentioning how long they're revising the broadcast legislation, right? So let's not hold our breath on that.
That was a thought.
Right? So at least the Copyright Act is there, the broadcast one is not. But it is a serious thing, and you can see the lack of seriousness on behalf of the, when I say the government, I don't mean
Let's say authorities.
I don't mean the politicians, I mean the rank and file, the technicians within government. Because when you look at the social economic review that they like to quote in Parliament, particularly when there's a debate going on, creative industries is not an economic indicator.
Nope.
It's hidden in tourism.
Nope.
And again, I have pointed out to the folks at you laughing. Tell them I lie when you come to talk. I have said, because you've thrown out that I was a former DPS, I have thrown out informal gatherings with my colleagues at the Ministry of Finance, disaggregate creative industries from tourism, and let us see what tourism is really doing in this country, and let us see what creatives are really doing in this country. I also say now in public, because anybody who meet me for 2 seconds will hear me say it, do for creative industries what you did for tourism back in the 60s, and watch creative industries wipe our national debt.
Yes.
That's
Interesting.
Because
Orange
he mentioned
economy.
the percentages. Look at the amount of, Bob Marley is the richest dead man around.
Yeah.
Right? Rihanna is a walking bank. There is money to be made if we put the structures in place and get it done. And Michael Jackson too, but we're talking Caribbean. So fraud Bob.
But
You know?
you know the Caribbean guy?
So now you can,
So
I
Blitz,
leave
go
it
ahead.
for a girl, man. Run with it. I pass the baton to you.
I like what Martin said about the music and what type of music, we should encourage our youth or our people to consume, because music is basically a tool to soothe the soul, to enlighten the soul and makes the soul happy. And if you don't give people music that actually soothes the soul, what it does, it actually makes the soul aggravated. And aggravation doesn't mean it will show on your face right away, but it will be something that festers inside you until the day you react. Because music is supposed to be joyous. It's supposed to be something that makes you feel good inside. And although they have music that brings out emotions, but it is deliberate. That is a deliberate song to bring out a particular emotion for a particular piece or for a particular action, But when we have music that just aggravates the soul, it is loud, it is rhythmless, it is harmonyless,
Dissonance.
it just aggravates the soul, because the soul wants to feel the soothingness of the music. It doesn't just wants to be.
But can't you say that's freedom of expression?
It is freedom of expression, and guess what?
Because an aggravated soul will make an aggravated song.
and I agree with you. Freedom of expression is one of the things that we have as individuals, and it's a right to us.
It's like a flying kite, and you drop the rope.
But the thing about it is, we as creatives are supposed to be responsible for what we do. You understand? And the people, the authorities, those that are in charge, supposed to be responsible for what their people consume. You understand? Because if you allow anything, then you get anything.
But lately we've been piggybacking on our regional neighbors as far as their music is concerned.
Well, let me tell you, we are still consuming a lot of derogativeness, a lot of things that are
explicit,
and you start to wonder if that's our education or if that's our culture, because I know that's not our culture. It can't be our culture.
Well, it has become our culture.
Well,
then again,
it needs to be controlled.
Does it have to do with the quality of the products that we put out as well? Yeah, because the other thing too is we speak that about being in a global space, and it is true. Before you put something out, you have a massive reach. You can reach thousands, millions of people, right? But to do that, you also have to make certain that the product that you put out is exportable. It's of a high quality. We saw Imran Nadi just getting an award for most exportable song.
That's not an award.
You want to
That's
press.
his opinion. That's his opinion.
Okay. You have to edit that.
But when you really go back to it and you see the construct of his song, I mean, I cannot disagree with that.
I agree.
He did a fantastic product, and that song in itself, its reach can cross borders. Do we think about this when we put in our products? We put that to play.
Was it CDF that did the business of music training?
Yeah, the business of the arts.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was in a collaboration with
Is it still on?
the Caribbean Development Bank.
Is it still available? Someone wants to do it?
Okay, well, in actuality, it is still going on, as in the first chord, and we'll decide what happens after that, because that was through funding, through the
Because
CDB.
the reason
but the
I
project
asked
is there.
is
holistically.
because a few years ago, the world drops now between pre-COVID and post-COVID. So before COVID, before COVID, there was a initiative where musicians could put their work up on the website, and for promoters overseas who could not come to St. Lucia, or the musician could not travel for the audition, could then see the product, the video, the performance, listen to the music, see how you get on stage, and then engage with you if they wanted to hire you. And one of the requirements was that you did the business of music course, because I will quote Bohingson, it's show business, it's business, this is a business. And you should have heard the musicians. I was there as a government rep. I wasn't there because I'm not a musician. And you should have heard the guys object to the fact that why must it cost for me to be on the website?
But I can tell you why. I can tell you why. The education is basically free. Doesn't mean it's the right education, but education is basically free. People go online, they're on YouTube.
No, it was the certification went by CDF.
I know what you're saying. I'm saying the reason why people are objecting is because they figure they can go online and get the so-called education online. They figure they could just go and watch a YouTube video and get the same information. Now, I'm not saying it's the right information, but 99% of people just like to do the easy way. In St. Lucia, we have a culture of just doing the easy thing and not necessarily the right thing.
And that brought us back to what you're saying about the standards.
You know.
I would like to lend my voice to the standards and to that aspect. To be honest, I really want to applaud and give hats off to our creatives in St. Lucia, because in terms of standards, we match anywhere in the world in terms of quality of sound and lyrics as well. There's a particular aspects of the lyrics that we need to fix.
Yeah.
Because if you sing, you use particular terms, and don't forget, when we went to school, in poetry, they taught us all the tools to write a good poetry, to write a good song. The double tongue, yes, we know all the tools. So which means that is the education side of things. But the business of music is the other aspect. So when you create within your I cannot dictate to you how to create. But if you create something that cannot cross boundaries, it's not mainstream marketable, it's not it will not go mainstream. If I sing a song about women's genitals, that's all I want to sing about. Only people who want to listen to women's genital songs that will listen to it. How do you go past that variable and that barrier, past that boundary? So we need to be mindful of what we put out and what we sell as not just the creative, but I use the authorities. We need to be careful as to what we sell our country as. We need to be careful. That's why you need a broadcast bill. That's why you have laws in place to create parameters for justice for everybody to fit within a particular framework. But when it comes to, I was speaking of Eko, on the standpoint of Eko, I need, and Eko need, and the creatives need, and the rest of the world, because they are looking in. As we say, it's a global village. They are looking in, and it's very simple. They monitor all the radio stations, all broadcasters, by just the mere listening and what have you. They hear the songs they hate, and they will request their monies, because we are obligated and mandated to collect and to remit to our creatives and the rest of the world. So we need our users of music to come on board. Please respect the rights and the intellectual property. That will determine whether a creative is successful or not within the sector. So there's quite a lot that needs to be done.
Can I say something? Thank you, Mr. James, for that. back to the artists, the creatives, the writers. I mean, when you go to write a piece, you could clearly see that some people follow the trend, some people are deep in thought. You could clearly see some people actually do the research. You could tell by listening to a piece, you can tell where it came from. And I just think that the lack of education in those things, in those fields, is what that actually keeping our creatives, well, in our music industry part. I think that's some of the things that are keeping us back, because we lose the importance of being educated. We lose that because we figure we can just do it because we have a platform to do it. We just do it. So we have no care for the proper language or the double letter, like he said. We have no care for that anymore. We just do a piece, and guess what? We can just upload it because we can upload it. So there's no point for the education, but in truth and in fact, there needs education in that sector, and CDF is there. I mean, the development of whatever is there.
Business development.
Yeah. You know, he's there. So I'm just throwing out to him, you know, there needs to be education in the sector. I mean, if UCDF, Cultural Development Foundation, develop.
Yeah, well, in
Develop
fact,
the
in
culture.
every aspect of what we do, that's one of the heaviest components for us. We
Develop.
always maintain that there should always be an educational component in everything that we do. Because for us, this is where the nurturing and the training, the development aspect of it, that's where it's from. And we need to use that to ensure that we continue the development of our culture and make certain that everybody remembers what is, especially the core principles of who we are as a people. Because right now, the place is a global stage. Most of our youth now, they're on their phones and they're adapting to the global culture. So
And a lot of them are being self-taught.
exactly, and on the phones again, and that's the culture that's there. It's a globalized culture, as opposed to the culture of our own. So what do we need to do at that point? Those persons who have the generational knowledge, we need to actively go out there and educate the masses, put it out, share. We need to share the information. Some persons, they leave with a whole ton of valuable knowledge. We need to put our hand up and say, okay, it's not just up to the CDF, or let's partner with the CDF, let's send in a suggestion, let's do the work together to make certain that we continue that development, we continue to immerse our youth in what we do. I mean, growing up as a youth, I was constantly into, if Monday is cricket, Tuesday I'm at Stillpan at the North Stars Still Orchestra, and these things kept me active. It taught me self-discipline, taught me sportsmanship, it taught me in accepting losses and dealing with them and turning these things around. So next year we come back even stronger to try and win the crown. It taught you so many things. It taught you how to be innovative, and then these skills, these core teachings, you take that, you employ that into your field of work, and you're much better for it. The companies in which you work for, they're more better for it because you get to innovate in a fast-paced world. And you know, in everything now, businesses need a competitive advantage. What gives you that competitive advantage?
Well, what I see of our generation now, those who have gone overseas and taken advantage of the opportunities that were before them, whoever went to school and got their degrees and learned whatever they had to do in in music or writing, etc. A few of them, we're getting them one by one, literally coming back home to St. Lucia and trying to recruit, try to educate, try to sum up persons who are interested, who would, and give their fellow citizens a chance. So I have been seeing one, two, a little sprinkle of them, but it looks like something that is trending right now, where our locals come back to help us out. So we take our final break, and this is Nation Beat on NTN. We will continue with much more. Hey, we're coming back to Blaze as far as Calypso is concerned. Stay tuned.
The Ministry of Agriculture, Fisheries, Food Security and Rural Development is placing heavy emphasis on the concept of food security. It's our prosperity, our future. There are business opportunities in fisheries and aquaculture. If you are involved in this sector or you are a member of the Fishers Cooperative, you are entitled to rebate on fuel consumed. The Ministry of Agriculture, Fisheries, Food Security and Rural Development also provides technical support and training as well as juvenile fish for aquaculture or aquaponic farmers. If you are interested in business opportunities in fisheries and aquaculture, you can contact the Chief Fisheries Officer at 468-4135 for further details.
Welcome back to Nation Beat on NTN with your presenter, Eko CEO. So we continue with our panelists. And it's a great discussion today as far as our annual St. Cecilia's Day Feast of Musicians celebration is concerned. Today we're talking about the positive impact of the creative industry on writers, creatives, musicians alike, and asking our panelists, yay or nay? Has there been anything positive? Let us know. So we continue with, we're wrapping up with Blaze right about now. So Blaze, seeing that you are part of one of the newest Calypso fraternities, talking about KPT, keep people talking, Kaiso Prosteds, and so on and so forth. Tell us about, just give us a brief wrap-up of what you have observed over the years, and seeing now that Calypso, okay. How far you believe Calypso has come from then to now?
I think Calypso was far, and right now it's near.
Okay.
You want to know what I mean by that?
Yes.
Right, so I think Calypso was at a good place at one time. Calypso was at a very high standard, very high place at one time, and now we have brought Calypso to its knees. You know, we have brought Calypso down to its knees. Not just the quality of music, not just the show quality, but even the judging aspect of it.
And the support.
And the support for Calypso.
Support, yes.
But then again, you can't blame the fans, because if you don't have nothing to sell, why should I come and look at you? If the standard of what you're doing is low, why should I come? You know, you have to understand all of these aspects. You understand? And then even the support for the Calypso, now we have good recordings. Before didn't have good recordings. Now you have good recordings, and the radio stations will not play the recordings. You understand? So where is the support for the Calypso, the culture, the creative space that you call Calypso? Where is it?
Now whoever would say that, oh, we're not getting it, that is not true.
They lie.
That for sure is not true. If you do not want it, you will not
But
get
then again, if you have a programs director on your station, whether television or radio, and your programs director doesn't include that part of the calendar or your activities, then you do whatever you want. So I don't only blame just the DJs, I blame the program directors at the stations, you know, whether it's be television stations or radio stations. You know, I blame them. But then again, you know, Brown and I saw what we didn't like in Calypso, so we decided to do our own thing, and we are trying to give artists an experience of what we think they should get as an artist, you know, in an entity. And that's what we go out to do. That we make sure we give them artist lounge, we give them buffet setting in their lounge. We give them drinks bar in their lounge where they can actually come and just chill as musicians. You know, don't have to go and buy a drink, don't have to go and beg for something, don't have to do nothing, just chill, just get good.
And not only that, Martin, I would tell you, they are prepared. When they come out to perform, they are prepared. It's not like they just learned the song last night. They are prepared. So kudos to KPT, not brushing off anybody else, but kudos to KPT for coming up on the scene with some fresh views and more women.
Yeah, more women.
Well done, Blaze. Well done. I think if we go back to Art in the City, where you guys perform at Jazz on the Jazz and Arts on the Square.
Yeah.
And we infused that little jazz bits into the Calypso into the jazz. It was a brilliant
Soul
performance.
Calypso,
I have
yeah.
to give you guys
Soul Calypso.
hats off for that.
Okay, so Ms. French, you wanted to talk about exposure.
Yes.
So give us that.
Nasty, stinking word.
Please, yes.
Because they look at you and tell you work for exposure, and I tell them if I got Lucia, I can expose myself, I'll get arrested.
Exactly, they'll
Right?
not take out the...
I
exactly.
do not write from magazines in St. Lucia. I do not write for the newspapers in St. Lucia because they pay the editor, they pay everybody from the editor to the cleaner, and me that providing the content, they want to tell me they're going to give exposure.
Yeah.
And I suspect it's even worse for the musicians, right? So this, and you know, I saw an article a few years ago where the council, the city councils in Ireland actually put out a press release and put their foot down and say this thing of making creatives work for gratis must stop. So apparently it's an international thing where creatives are expected to work for free. Freeness does not pay the bill, right? It takes time to put, you see the finished product. You do not see what it takes to make that finished product. Apart from the raw materials, the brain power, the sleepless nights, especially if you're working on a project and you have a deadline, and that deadline is coming upon you and you have to present the mural or the song or the script.
And you get blocked everywhere.
Right? And so this has to stop, you know, and it's both government and private sector. You know, nobody, and the religious fraternity as well. Nobody not exempt from that. Stop telling people work for exposure.
Or for drinks.
You
Yeah,
know,
that happens.
you for food and drink. So, you know, you going to pay the utilities for the event. You're going to pay the technicians for the event. You're going to pay the cleaners. You're going to pay the men in black that going to be manning the gate for you. And the attraction, the main attraction that bringing everything together must work for free.
Yeah.
I don't do it, and I suppose others will have to make take a personal stand. But that's why you don't see articles by me in the newspaper or the magazines. They have come to me, and I ask how much you paying, and you get the silence, and I say when you change your policy, come back.
Okay.
Understood.
Yeah. Okay. Reference the showcasing and wanting persons to do it for free. I think Blaze spoke to we are not without music and good content, and we have enough. Calypso in particular. I will tell you, we had playing, but there's another aspect of it. So they have to create it. They have to create the shows to do it. They have to record it and do all that, and it must be played. And when it's played, because the creator is not necessarily the performer of the song. So when you see somebody performing a song, they might have 5 creatives behind that song. And they get paid when we collect the royalty aspect, when we collect the performance rights. The money's for them. That's how we do it. Eko takes away the admin expense, and all the rest of the monies goes to those creatives. So it may not go to the performer. The performer getting his $100, his $200, his $1,000 to perform.
Okay.
But then the people who wrote the lyrics, the people who created the music, the people who put everything together, how do they get paid? You get paid when the license, you take you get the permit, the permission, and then you pay by way of royalties.
Well, Mr. James, what they say about tabla is the artists have to pay everybody. The person who performs, what they get has to be distributed. So that's about
so the way royalties work. Okay, so like I told you, the membership categories I give you there: authors, composers, authors, composers, publishers, and producers. So here's what a creative. Every song that is played out in public, and I say in public, out of your domestic use. So if you have a party at your home, you're good. That's your domestic party. If you're going to go on social media and say, I have a birthday party and everybody come with a drink, come with a this, come with that, it's no longer your domestic use. It's a public use now. So which means you have to get permission from the creatives to do it. So then when you collect, when you get that permission, you come to Eko, because you cannot go to each individual, the 5 people I talk about. One might be in Jamaica, one might be in St. Lucia, what have you. You come to Eko, Eko gives you that permit. When that song is played on the rotation, Eko collects its admin expense, and the rest of the money goes out based on the splits. We don't get involved in splits.
Okay.
You determine who you give what split and what have you. And that's right. So we are about to give a distribution. We will be making a distribution a little later in the year. And that is the monies we collect and we give out to back to the artists. So for the creative sector, and to look at it as I wrap up, if they don't get paid, it is not going to motivate them to create. When you get those licenses, you get paid, it motivates creativity, it motivates all of it, and it feeds your family. You have to eat as well. They have people who are just creatives, you know.
And if I may add to that, because the rotation on the stations is so heavily foreign, when that payout comes out,
well, we know
most
what
of
it
that
is.
money goes out.
All right, well, we know.
Yeah.
So how are we keeping the foreign exchange in?
So
They have to pay the money to Michael Jackson and Beyonce and these people.
So, Ika, I don't want to take your job from you, but CDF has a project they're doing called Music, and I would really like to hear our
the license.
Yes, we can wrap up.
I hope you'll pay your license, right? But I want to hear a little more about that because I am going to this to the show. I am coming. You know, I'm paying my ticket to support it.
And we
But
appreciate
you
that.
know, I want you to talk about it.
All right.
Give it a plug.
Well, thank you so much for that, Blaze, and everybody listening. We just want to say a little bit more about music. Music first is really us celebrating the face of musician. So we call music a celebration of our musicians. We felt there was a need to increase the awareness around St. Cecilia's Feast of Musician, which happens annually November 22nd. So we decided, okay, let's do something to really celebrate our musicians and to bring that light. And the idea was to really get musicians, artists, everybody engaged in the process. This year, though, for the very first edition, we also decided to take that unique opportunity to feature the work of Ashanti, who is he's arguably one of the greatest Calypsonians that we've had in St. Lucia to set up on that stage. So what we decided to do was everybody who's coming on stage to perform, they will actually be performing an Ashanti song. So they're not coming to sing their own songs, they're coming to perform an Ashanti song. And in that way, there's so many things that happen in the mix because you get that transmission of generational knowledge. You have the direction of the entire show is being done musically by the maestro himself, Mr. Gregory Piper. Some of the songs are being, the beats you have, some with a little folk infusion, some with a little Latin infusion. So there's so many surprises on the night. We want to welcome everybody to come and enjoy this on the 23rd. We've selected the weekend of St. Cecilia's as the day to really feature it. And there's just so much in play and so much different surprises holistically. For us, like I said, in everything that we do, there is an educational component, so it does not end there. We also have a masterclass that we're doing in terms of songwriting, and that is being featured by Mr. Nahum Jabatis, who is Nahum Happy Jabatis, that's what we know him as. He's one of Ashanti's songwriters, along with Camdo as well. So you ensure that there's this level of continuity and that monitoring, so then and it's all targeted at our youth in terms of the junior Calypso sector. So you get both the kids and the teachers into that masterclass so they can learn a little bit more in terms of the construct of their songs and probably even the lyrical content as well, and how to help just improve the general output of it. So this is music pretty much. It's an amazing show. We're hoping that we do enough, and we know it's going to be enough, but we're hoping that as we progress, this is the first edition, we're hoping that we'd be able to do this annually, because I must tell you there's no real finance to do this. This is a first time project that we're embarking, but we're hoping that from this first edition it will attract more corporate support, it will attract more finance from different sources, which will allow us to do this year and year to really celebrate our artists, celebrate our musicians, and do more, just to show more so persons can actually come out and express themselves. We're hoping to get even more musicians involved in the process, but the night Saturday night at the Cultural Center. Doors open at 7:30. The show starts at 8:30 promptly. This show is to celebrate our musicians. So we want all the musicians to come out. Please, thank you for buying your ticket.
Yeah, man.
We want all musicians to actually come out and celebrate themselves. But we also want the public to come out and enjoy that. And even the cast, there's so much to talk about. When you look at the cast, we have a mixture of
Well,
young...
Mr. Evelyn, we have to cut you off because we're out of time.
Oh no! Oh no!
Shows like this deserve 2 hours, I know that for sure.
You see, it took too long to come and do it, you know?
But most definitely, it's on this weekend, Saturday, at the National Cultural Center, so people be there. And this has been another edition of Nation Beat. And of course, it's a special program which was created during Music Month with the emphasis on our annual St. Cecilia's Feast of Musicians celebration. I'm your presenter, Eko Fergus, and of course, thanking our panelists today, Mr. Martin James of
Happy
Eko,
feast.
also Mr. Lennon Blaise Prosper, Ms. Dawn French, and
you for having
Mr. Michelle Hippolyte, yes,
Thank
from
you.
CDF. So join us again next year, hopefully, for another Nation Beat. Thank you so much, St. Lucia, for listening and watching. Have a good weekend.
The panel, the discussion, an objective and impartial view of the issues of interest to you. Nation Beat is on now.